question asker. Like, I love to kind of understand the why behind stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not necessarily the like handiest, like mechanically or with tools, but like connecting dots. Even when I do like formulations and stuff, it is not a Food Network Salt Bay kind of show. It's like it's messy chaos, but at the
Yeah.
end I can figure out, okay, here's what I think. It's not pretty in the middle, and then it achieves the goal at the end. I wish I was more handy with stuff, but I can ask enough questions to figure out what's wrong and to find
Mhm.
help.
All right, welcome back to the Liquid Entrepreneur Podcast. I'm your host, Monte Burrow. Today, I have an exciting one for you. This young lady, I had an opportunity to meet a little while ago, but I loved her energy so much. And I think she has something about her that will inspire a lot of people. I am pleased to present to my audience, Emily Darchuk of Wheyward Spirit. Emily, what's going on?
Hi, good to see you again.
Oh man, you're a sight for sore eyes. How you been?
Been good. I think the correct answer for any entrepreneur, busy but good,
Right.
So yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. I love it. Where are you? Where are you actually located at?
I live up in Portland.
Uh-huh.
I'm in headquarters, my basement. But we do everything out of California, build a really great kind of full supply chain from farm to flask partnership in
Yeah.
California. um Everything like that. So I think, and we have a team kind of that's now a little bit all over the country, so
Whoa.
yeah, a little bit of everywhere all at once. It's
Love
kind
it.
of the story too.
Love it. Love it. So that's super interesting. I mean, in today's world as an entrepreneur, you have to be a little bit of everywhere at once. Fortunately for technology such as what we're using right now, it gives you an opportunity to do that. So I think today's entrepreneur, I don't know if it's a leg up or a leg down against the past, but we are definitely more international or national even when we're situated somewhere else. So uh,
Totally. And I think COVID's helped a lot too. It removed that pressure of having
yeah,
to have the office and a showcase and stuff. It's more like, hey, how are you most effective in getting things done? And,
yeah.
yeah.
Were you born and raised in Portland?
No, no, not at all. Lived all over the country,
Mhm.
lived in, I think, 11, 12 states now for a chunk of time. Grew up mainly mid-Atlantic, Maryland, kind of went to high school there. But, just moved to different jobs, traveled a ton. So I'm kind of a patchwork of everywhere I've lived and everyone I've gotten to work with it. But I ended up getting my MBA in Oregon and kind of just put down roots somewhere, so I'm here.
Yeah, when we met, um, and I remember you talking about a little bit about some of the things you some of the things that interest you or kind of what motivates you and what moves you. I remember specifically you talking about problem solving and curiosity, right? And I believe you mentioned that you ended up going into food science in school.
Yeah.
So when I think of problem solving, I think of like your engineers and I think of your doctors, even sometimes financial analysts. What made you choose food science? Just I'm very curious about that.
Yeah, the category of food scientists were kind of like I don't want to call it failed other scientists, but like the things you're saying didn't have that creative outlet. So what
Mm,
I do has engineering and what I do has chemistry and what I do has business. So like it's kind of like that avenue to still do a science, have those elements, do the problem solving, but also have a human connection. Because at the end of the day, like food and what you make and how people buy it and consume it still has such a human connection that you're not getting in some of those other kind of classical sciences. So I feel like I originally went to school thinking the only thing you could do with food was like a dietitian, tell people what to eat, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, I don't want to tell people what to eat. I want to inspire them. Like I can. And I was lucky enough. I got my undergrad. Again, didn't grow up there, but University of Illinois, big
Mm,
school, kind of broad thing, and was able to make that pivot into, it was a food industry and business, but food science and nutrition kind of basis, and understanding both the business side and the science side. I kind of ended up in the pathway of like product development, and I kind
mm,
of always saw my role as a product developer as that innovation, but like solving consumer problems, translating consumer needs into tangible products with science. So like you're you're making something, but you're also testing your assumption, and you're problem solving, and you're trying to create something completely new. And it's just been one of those things. It's like you're curious on where stuff comes from and how it can come from, and like it's kind of cool to have something tangible at the end of the day.
what did you play with when you were a kid? What type of toys did you put? Because, and I'm asking this for a reason. I'm
Oh,
asking this for a reason.
yeah, I think I just read the Washington Post probably. I I was only child, so, like, you
Uh,
just kind of whatever's around. I like sports,
uh,
definitely a East Coaster, played lacrosse,
yeah.
loved sports and kinda learning, and, um, yeah, I don't I yeah yeah, I think I was just I would read and learn and geek out about random stuff, with it, but, yeah, definitely love sports, though, too.
Emily, that was not the answer I was expecting when I asked you
Were you
what
expecting
toys you
like
put.
a Play-Doh set or
Oh,
something?
I had the Washington Post. So the reason why I asked that question is I don't know why, but I have this vision of you as a kid taking your toy apart and
Mm,
trying to figure out what's going on with it and then putting it back together. You know, were you did you have that type of mindset or was it n- different level of curiosity?
I'm like a question asker.
Hmm.
So like I love to kind of understand the why behind stuff.
Hmm.
I'm not necessarily the like handiest like mechanically or with tools, but like connecting dots and like
Mm.
finding that why, or the missing link of stuff. So I think like I'm kind of more like a verbal person and understanding, but even just like from a macro level, understanding forces and where things happen and how things connect, I think, or how I'm at. Even when I do like formulations and stuff, it is not a Food Network Salt Bay kind of show. It's like it's messy chaos, but at the
Yeah.
end I can figure out, okay, here's what I think. It's not pretty in the middle, and then it achieves the goal at the end. So like that's kind of where I'm kind of, I think, my sweet spot with it. I wish I was more handy with stuff, but I can ask enough questions to figure out what's wrong and to find
Mhm.
help.
Love it, love it, love it. So we'll take you back. We'll go back to the food scientist piece. So you graduate. What is your first job after graduation?
Yeah. I graduated '08.
Hmm.
So I was lucky to have a job.
Jan. Oh, wait.
And I did about a year and a half actually of just like internships,
Hmm.
which for me, who likes to put a lot of things together, was actually kind of a blessing to get a bunch of experience, but also get that freedom to kind of learn where you're good at. So worked at an ingredient supplier for before I graduated up till the end, and then I was at Kellogg's for about a year after, and I ended up again in a great opportunity where I was within a thing called the COGS team.
Hmm.
So COGS team is cost optimization. So essentially we touched anything under the sun. Like it was fair game to be like, hey, where's low hanging fruit? What do people love about this product? Where is their waste? How do we kind of optimize everything? So I got to travel to all the facilities across the country and learn a lot, and then also kind of learn about the levers that go into all of that supply chain and get to work with the cross section of people that touch all different types of products that have an expertise here, but
Mm.
like try to connect the dots across all the categories.
Did you enjoy it? What was that? Did you think that was going to be like, here's my career, I'm set?
I liked it a lot. It was
Uh-huh.
fun. It was when I started school, or it's a little bit on kind of like the journey of even how I ended up here. When I left school, the thing the best thing you could get was land at one of these big companies because that's who was doing innovation, that's who was doing category creation. That's like the only place you could go. So if you got in with one of the big ones, you had freedom and a pathway and were actually be able to kind of do cool things
Mm.
with that, like over time, like, and cost savings and private equity and restructures and stuff like that, like that creative freedom kind of left. So when I
Mm.
started, yeah, I was like, I love this, but I also love the variety that came with it. I think like I can never be like a lab rat. I can never be that, like that whole fluidity of new and making it work and connecting and traveling and building a relationship across the thing. That's what I really liked about it. And I kind of learned I need a little bit of that variety, and I kind
Mhm.
of thrive a little bit in that controlled chaos environment of figuring stuff out.
Do you think that's interesting, right? Because I think you hit the nail on the head. A lot of times people in general think of, I get into this big spot, this conglomerate, if you will, and that's kind of the end all be all from the standpoint of I've made it, and things happen sometimes within our control, sometimes out of our control, right? And it causes a pivot. Was that your first pivot, or did you jump into entrepreneurism right after that, or what did you go to? Did you find another spot in corporate?
I f I found another spot. I ended up
Hmm.
with a company called White Wave. It was in
Hmm.
Boulder, which was like going to be my dream spot to live forever
Yeah.
again and all of that. Um, and that company, even though they had the backing and were owned by one of the largest dairy companies in the country, were super entrepreneurial because we were the branded side. So we even though the parent company was more commodity focused, we were the ones that had to tell a story and have the brand equity and have innovation and cost savings. And it was like 15 projects on your desk, like timelines all over, a lot again with kind of co-packers and going and, you know, really smart, scrappy people, that kind of came in that like I think that environment draws versus kind of safe, kind of quiet kind of thing. So like was able to I think learn a ton, but also build a good network of other people that do that. And one of my things coming out of like I changed divisions a couple times, and mind you, this is like a decade ago. Like I had my one of my big projects, and it was for their IPO, was their platform of all plant-based yogurts. Like that wasn't
Mm.
a thing at
Hmm.
all. So like finding out, hey, a facility that could do it, trying to understand consumer acceptance on this thing that didn't exist, but you knew it could be there, working with international teams, all this stuff. But like I was lead on that, and that was the big thing to get through an IPO. So like you learn contingency things. Like I was even at a big company, I was getting storage units of extra ingredients because if I had to last minute do a trial, you had to go. So like I think it was good because I never had that softness. I think
Hmm.
even working at a big company, you're kind of like, what do I need to get it done? What are the resources? How do I do it? How do I pivot? And like you get a little bit of hope it goes well, because then you get to sleep.
Yeah.
So
I hear a few themes coming through. So I'm hearing some leadership elements of leadership and being resourceful or resourcefulness. Definitely elements of innovation tied in through the jobs and the roles that you've had. And honestly, I hear a lot of, especially with that last role that you talked about, entrepreneur, well, call it entrepreneurial opportunities in there. Where do you think your entrepreneurial spirit came from? Was it from the roles you had? Was anybody in your family an entrepreneur? Like, I'm really curious as to how did you even tap into that piece?
I think curiosity. I
Okay.
think that question asking, that curiosity, that wanting to learn a little bit more, do a little bit more, connect with a little bit more. I think I have the too much gene. So like, yeah, elements of that. Like my dad's an engineer, my mom kind of did nutrition stuff. I ended up the messy middle, I guess, of
Now I
both of
see
that.
it. Now it makes sense.
Yeah, so but definitely not that. No one in my family is
Yeah.
entrepreneurial. Like I think it's kind of one of those things. Entrepreneurs have a good gut on when to say yes, and like you just your life kind of evolves over time, and you end up somewhere you didn't even think. And I think a little bit of that becomes the entrepreneurial journey because you're like, where am I? Like, but you did amazing things kind of along the way. So I don't know. I didn't think this, but to be honest, like the things that kind of drove me intrinsically, I think intrinsic motivation too is something entrepreneurs have because you got to keep going. Like there's it's not instantaneous, gold stars every single thing you do. You got to like believe in the process and the why behind everything and deal with adversity, but like that creativeness, that ability to actually impact the food system, to push boundaries, to have narrative, to do category creation, all of that left the big companies. Like,
Mm.
and that, so I'm kind of, I ended up working, got my master's in food science, working for another big company. And I'm like, I'm not I'm not giving my full potential within this system, within the roles that I'm going to be able to do to climb here. And I'm seeing, you know, at places like Expo West or other entrepreneurs, like the ability to focus and solve problems and deliver and have that freedom and autonomy to kind of put those things together. Those kind of went outside because it was safer to have those risk takers outside the company versus within it. And then it kind of merges back on corporate partnerships kind of thing. So that's kind of how I got into this entrepreneurial world. I think it's just naturally like how like market forces and companies and things have evolved over the past 10 years and the um in the industry. It's kind of you're just going towards what connects with you, and you end up making a natural pivot and not realizing it.
Yeah, you mentioned that sometimes the journey lands you into an unexpected state, if you will. So let's talk about that unexpected state. So you end up coming over to the dark side eventually. And I say the dark side just because that's an
For more
inside
fun.
pun, but so
Yeah.
so you say, let me take all of this and let me build an alcohol brand. What
Yeah.
in the world brought you to this industry?
Not that assessment. Like I never had that like aha thing. It was more like I and I think a little bit it might be healthy, especially in the spirit side, is
Yeah,
like this has never been like a vanity brand for me.
yeah.
I've launched so many products. I'm blessed to be able to go in the grocery store and be like, I did that or this or that. And like, so I didn't have, I mean, obviously it's my baby and like it's yes, like every time it's a huge thing, but like, I was able to kind of, I think, look at the whole thing on what it was gonna be. And for me, it's like I was at the last job I was at Coke, which is one of the biggest beverage
Yeah.
companies there. And I was just like, if I stick in purely a science type role or within this, like I can't, I don't have my full voice. And it was starting to like be like, I really want to get my MBA. I really want to be able to kind of put the things together to make sure I don't get somewhere safe forever,
Mhm.
like so I got my MBA, and because I did innovation, it was a program that like the subset I did was like innovation and entrepreneurship. I was like, well, I do innovation. So
Mm.
I do this, and I did it, and I came in with my ideas and I started doing business competitions, and and evolving and networking and getting feedback and asking questions, and all of a sudden I kind of have a company
Wow.
with it. So I never kind of realized it was like on that journey with innovation entrepreneurship, it's like I actually have the freedom to try to create the type of product and company I always hope landed on my desk. Like
Mm,
it's a privilege to try. So I'm going to take advantage of all of this. And like, I honestly believe like on that journey, you get out there, you meet people, the universe works in weird ways. And that's kind of what I just did to do that. And on that journey, I'm like, hey, I'm really uniquely positioned to be a bridge to, fix a problem in the food system that like I know big companies can't focus on, right?
mm,
Because that's not their core thing. And also, with kind of my innovation mindset, I'm starting to look at the alcohol categories, and
mm.
everything's these narrow silos, and like past life everywhere I went, like blurring of categories is where cool things happen, and that is so not there. And like I kind of came into the realization of like this industry's stuck in the 1920s and prohibition, and that's the only narrative you can tell, and you can't have flavor and you can't have impact and you can't know where it's at. And like all of this stuff I found frustrating, and it kind of with that and the ability to be like, "Oh, I can have some freedom to innovate where I see it," is like kind of created that wayward mentality and the wayward spirit. It's like it's a way spirit versus having to fit the categories that don't have any room for innovation, but also that wayward mentality to have the freedom to do things differently for the right reasons and take a step back and be like, does this align? Is this why, or is this just because this is always how it's been? And work within a system that I know exists, but also, continue to push for evolution within it.
So you've had these really cool jobs with these really cool companies, and at one point you say, "You know what? I'm gonna start an alcohol brand. And it's not gonna be vodka, it's not gonna be tequila, it's not gonna be whiskey. I'm gonna create something with whey. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do." And let me see, I've had 10, no, 15, no, 20 years, no, wait a minute, no alcohol beverage experience. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. What did your friends and family say?
Well, you got to realize like everywhere I've worked, I would get thrown this. I even did product development for an internship at NASA. So like I've gotten all different categories thrown at me. So it's just a little bit of like learning. So alcohol, it's kind of own beast, but I've fermented anything under the sun. Like I that element wasn't that scary to me. And for me, it was like, really diving into kind of do that processing and development kind of thing. I think it started when I was doing my MBA and I throw in for business plan competitions and stuff. I would get to travel to Thailand and pitch and this and that. So it was kind of cool and kept getting, I think, more opportunities to just even get out there and learn and stuff. So I think one of the things that was really cool is right after I graduated, I went to this program called Embark, and it was for MBA students passionate about the natural food industry. I was like, I'm here for this, right?
Perfect.
Like, yeah, so, like, I go there, and it's really great, and all the keynote speakers, and one of the ones that I was really excited for was Gary Hirschberg,
Mm,
and he is the founder of Stonyfield Organic, and that was before that was a thing, and built that up, and, I was like, "He's gonna get what I'm doing, and I'm gonna get his feedback, for it," and I end up connecting with him, and, you know, it was amazing. Like he got my why, he got the product, he got the opportunity, and he was like, "Look," like after that meeting, he's like, "Look, Inc. approached me um for to be a mentor within this their whatever anniversary founders project, and I need to find a mentee, and I think you would be a really good mentee." So we started forming a relationship, and like a couple weeks later I had a whole film crew following me around
wow.
trying to build this thing and get in magazine and all of this stuff. So it kind of, like I've had a couple things along the journey that just give you this push to like, I gotta show up. Gotta I I gotta show up. So I think that's kind of where you always try to put yourself out there. And you've had amazing opportunities too that like you don't even realize it, but it's kind of progressing your thing to the next level. And that was one of the biggest thing because that kind of took a project I was passionate about building, getting all the foundation and kind of getting it in a public light and like a lot of eyes on it and a lot of eyes like very, very early for it. So like it's just kind of saying yes and figuring it out as you go. But I think that was one of the big things of like, oh, this is a thing. What are you doing? So but you get out of that too, if you keep everything too close to chest, you don't get supporters, you don't get
Yeah.
connection, you don't have that. So that then opened the doors to build, I think, more community and also like be like, oh, I'm building something people appreciate and my story on this journey matters to someone and stuff like that. So it was a cool serendipitous thing that happened and I'm very grateful for.
So I love this. I love this. I love this. Right. So anybody who is watching this can see your passion, and anyone who's listening to this can hear the passion. To me, I see the fearlessness, the white space. Let's figure it out, and we'll figure it out. Right. So I got to remind myself because I know a little bit about the brand, and some other people may not. So I'm gonna step back a bit and put some context behind why I think this is so impressive, right? So talk to the people a little bit about Whey and just what it is that you created.
Yeah. So, like our original brand and the
Mhm.
company name is founded on it is Wheyward Spirit. And we're a more sippable and sustainable specialty spirit upcycled from whey. So, long story short, instead of a traditional grain, grape, or agave, we work with sustainable dairy partners to upcycle their whey. That means every single bottle prevents gallons of food waste, fraction of the water and carbon footprint. But for me, and knowing what's going to be successful, the big thing, and I've trademarked these, is having a product where you can taste a difference and make a difference, deliver that versatility with value. So not only making that impact because the product's good, that can be my why, but also focusing on that flavor. So we're defined as a specialty spirit instead of your traditional vodka, gin, tequila, rum. And what that did was take a step back. How do people use their products? What do you use for it? How do you make a cocktail? And really, a base spirit, a base of any cocktail is that 1 to 3 ounce pour of your, standard category thing. And you're having to build a whole bar to be able to make a variety of drinks. Where if I remove those guardrails and be a specialty spirit, which is the only category within the CFRs that you can actually innovate in flavor and what you use in that, then I can get a really lovely balanced flavor profile that can actually enable you to use it in place of any of those spirits. It gives you efficiency behind the bar. We like to kind of say it's a Swiss Army knife of spirits. But also you can elevate the classics with it, but everything you're doing is giving your own bespoke creative twist for it. And you're able to share, and it connects you to where your food comes from. And it gives you that freedom to be that, that safe space to try something new and be creative with what you drink, how you drink, and why you drink it. And I thought like transparency was a huge thing kind of missing in liquor, especially with this is kind of how it is and where it's made. And, just leading with the fact we're different, I think helps create that conversation to learn a little bit more and get a little bit more confidence in how you approach a spirit and what you do with it and remove that kind of just like that marketing kind of like this is what it looks like, this is a lifestyle, this is that. No, it's a product you're paying your hard-earned money for and you should feel good about it and it should bring you joy with how you use it. So that's kind of created that wayward spirit, way spirit, wayward mentality. It's just let's focus on our impact and our flavor. And by doing things a little differently for the right reasons, we have the freedom to do that where nowhere else does. And I can still connect to the agriculture side and the partners and the people that work really, really hard to make the food within our system and give back in a way that prevents waste, which I think everyone can agree on. So really proud of Wheyward. That was our first launch. Tell you a million journeys on that. And then we started also barrel aging it. So
Oh,
again, with Wheyward Spirit, you know, we won some of the top gold medals around the world. It's great to tell a story of that gold medal winning spirit is going into a barrel, but then now we're aging it. So this is called Wheyward Whiskey. And
whiskey.
again, I have the freedom in how long I age, the flavors that come out of it. Everything's like really holistically done. No flavors, no colors, no tricks or tricks. Like it's it's just literally like connecting people with how a spirit's made by doing something a little bit differently and having them both have a beautiful, approachable signature profile. So really with these two bottles, you can make any cocktail under the sun. And then if you come with us, join our herd, go on our website, we give you a lot of recipes and help inspire, but there's no way to go wrong with it. There's no one to tell you no. And I think that's really a cool thing. And especially with these intentional drinking trends and that, like, you know, make it an experience, make it something you're actually going to enjoy with it. And that's kind of a little bit of how everything came, was a little bit of frustration on what I think the guardrails were that I saw within the industry that I didn't have a ton of experience in. And I think kind of having a little bit of that skill set with food and bev CPG, but not being, you know, a pedigree through the ALK thing helped me be able to be like, huh, what if, you know, and test and check and go along that journey with it, which it's been its journey. So
No, that's such a good testament because the reality is, and even me teeing it up the way that I did, the reality is you can have experience in this industry. You don't have to have experience in this industry. What you need to have is an understanding of what it is that you're wanting to do, what you're capable of doing, and not being afraid to just do it and try it, right? The things that get what they say, the graveyard is full of unfulfilled ideas. So going out there and trying something is the first step it takes. And I'm so happy that we were able to see that product that came out of you trying it, regardless of what others may have thought would have been a best way to enter into this industry, right? Um, I definitely hear you talk about the brand like it's your baby, like you said, right? Do you remember seeing the first bottle?
I I do. That it was it was during COVID too. So
Uh-huh.
everything's like scary. Even
Yeah,
getting the first glass delivered, everything
yeah,
like that. Like I made it like we were going to market like early in the pandemic. So you're
uh-huh.
not as, you know, you're having to not be right with everything and everyone at that time. So I totally remember that first bottle and it felt great. Like really proud of it. I did the design, the marketing, the things with it. So kind of seeing it to come together, but also like job's not done. It's just kind of beginning.
Yeah,
So like the fact I got some of these things over the line, like anything showing, you know, this, anything even showing up is sometimes a small miracle in itself, you know, like
yeah.
you don't take anything for granted on any given day. So it's a little bit of a, this is awesome. And then now it's like, hard work begins and here's the next step. How do you rinse and repeat? And you start to take for granted the things that you thought were like, oh my gosh, with it. So it's nice to kind of take a step back and have those like little moments of success and remember that what that felt like and what that was.
Who helped you along the way? What did you have a group of people helping you out?
I'm a solo founder.
Hmm.
So I did a lot on myself and figuring it out. I really early leaned into, I'd say, accelerators
Hmm.
and grant programs and things like that. Because it helped me to build community. Also, like my earliest supporters and investors came out of that natural food and beverage industry. So they got my why. And they got the innovation. And I think like you're investing in the person as much as you are the brand, because it's the person and the vision, and it's all the hard work in between
Yeah.
with it. So like tons of that kind of community. Like I'm a person who I like to triangulate information, because the truth is somewhere within everyone's experiences and also within your ability and resources to execute with it. So like building a big community with people with like a lot of resources, working kind of, we had a great contract partner who, like, because I wasn't going to put a bunch of money into capex, because if you do that too soon you start running a tasting room, and it's a
Yeah.
hospitality business, and it's gonna, every bottle I sell helps solve a problem. I want to focus on that and
Yeah.
building the brand versus running a tasting room or being hyper local or stuff like that. So it's kind of a little bit figuring out what you want your day to day be and how you get the most out of it. So finding a partner that could translate my IP, but they had the physical assets and I just run within there. They were like amazing, great partner along the journey and stuff like that. All of our Whey suppliers along the journey, like there's a lot of people, especially when it's just an idea. If you say no to an entrepreneur, like you're really slamming a door. So the few that said yes helped me get that momentum to build, and those they call them angels for a reason,
Yeah.
so
So for those entrepreneurs or those who are looking at this and saying, you know what, I want to do what she did. I want to launch a brand in the alcohol space. Was it instant success? Did it, like, soon as
I
that first bottle come out, was it like instant success?
I it it yes and no. I
Mm,
mean, like I think with you're always like, good things happen and that
yeah,
leads to other good things. So like what I did, because in COVID,
yeah,
like um you can't do demos, you can't do tasting, the world's in chaos, like things are like, so it's like, okay, what can I control?
yeah,
And I think it was kind of a blessing, even though it wasn't maybe like, the power of a huge brand launch kind of thing. It was DTC, it was building itself out, but I was an early adopter of that, and I could have my own voice outside the need for that distributor or that there. So I could tell my story and I could connect with my customers and see who is ordering and continue to evolve that. So like sending out the first email and having people order that had been following the journey, that felt like a huge success. But
mm,
then also telling my story and my why, like, ended up on the radar of like Ben and Jerry's pretty soon. And then that opened the door to, because their development cycles are really long, a collaboration where they made an ice cream flavor that not only has Wayward Spirit in it but also tells our story and our brand and our why. And that, so like those little things that aren't part of your business plan aren't things that you can do, like those are as successful as like I'm going to sell out a total wine. Well, I'm not, because it's a COVID, like, or this and that. So yeah, and it's taking those wins, but also every single one of those wins are partners that I have kept all through the journey. Like, and that's kind of where I really appreciate like some of those accelerators and things like that. Like, it's not a one and done thing. It's like the success is being able to build and kind of take that onward and do it together. So success now is getting a distributor to take me. And
yeah,
so you're fighting outside to have space to tell a radically different story. I created enough space where I could do that, but now it's like, how do I fit within the network in a way that it can create a win-win? And like, I think having that upstream wins, whatever they look like, and being able to do that, I now need to fit within the system, but I can do it in a way that's differentiated and we don't lose our voice and we don't get shoved in a box immediately with it, because I've shown there can be a different way. And like, you're going to want to work with me because I'm different. If you, and I can add value to your portfolio. If not, like, it's not going to work. Like, you stick with the status quo, and more power to you too. There's all different ways to win.
yeah.
So
I really like how you captured what success means to you, right? Because I remember talking to a gentleman a couple of years ago who wanted to launch a product, and they were based in, I think, in Virginia, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to launch this product." I don't even remember what it was, but they wanted to launch some product, and they were talking about, and I want to get into X amount of stores, this and that. And I'm like, God, it does not happen like that. It can, but they were thinking that they have a great product and boom, everybody's going to pick it up and it's out the door. And I'm like, you really need to know what you're looking for. And if your measure of success is just creating a product that's good, because you and I know there's great products out there that don't necessarily translate into traction and movement. You got to understand what does success look like for you. What are you willing to put in for it? And then go after it. But it's never usually that instant, you know?
Totally. And sometimes you learn, hey, like everything's about timing.
Yeah.
Like some of this stuff that takes off, it's just it's timing. Sometimes you're a little early and understanding what resources to put where. And like for me too, like culture and everything we're building is so important that like I've kept a lean team. Like I love my team. We're doing amazing things, nimbly and effectively and that, and it's better than blasting everything and like then being like what happened. But it is humbling, the journey and the timing and all of these elements. Like I had a little bit of an idea of some of these cycles from past life.
Yeah.
But it's, I think, especially when you have a lean team like you do, like you're juggling. So you
Yeah.
need this to hit at the same time as this and this, but you need this to be able to get this. And it's like some of that magic, sometimes the successes are things aligning because
Yeah.
then that opens that door that then gets you there. So it's the reality of building something and bottle by bottle, and you have a appreciation for every one of your customers, and I think that's a healthy thing too.
What do you think your biggest learning has been to date? To date, because I know we continuously learn.
And like I think timing's a big one. And I think like a lot of I mean, there's other forces at hand. I wish I was nicer to myself on like how long things take, and also knowing like
Talk about that a little bit. Talk
you're
about that piece a little
yeah.
bit. Being nicer to
Well, I
yourself.
mean, if your vision's too early, someone might not get it, but it's still there. So, but when you come back, you have this much more. And I think especially the topic of food waste, I used to have people be like, this is like 5, 6 years ago, be like, nobody cares about what they drink. Kids just want to get drunk, like blah, 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 like all of this stuff. And it's just like, no, I see this evolving. I see the forces. I see the stuff, and I like even the disruption like with non-alc. I'm seeing that's a consumer push for optionality. That's not everyone stopping drinking. That's like consumers pushing it back against the status quo. So like having those movements and that timing and being able to be like, I'm adding value, I'm communicating effectively. Cause like I think that's the hard thing is you see this whole thing and it's like you're teaching people, you're getting along the journey. One thing came out of the program we did that was my big aha because we live in the world of cases and bottles and blah blah blah. I'm I'm selling a drinking occasion. And
Hmm.
actually, I I love our ability to sell a drinking occasion. That's what it is. So like taking a little bit of that pressure off and knowing like, hey, you are actually communicating to a person and being part of that experience and inspiring, like, it's like it feels like it's a step back from the thing that you need to like push, but actually it removes a lot of friction, I think, and I think actually empowers differentiation in a brand and stuff like that. So the timing I think is big and the elements, and I think for me too, it's like I can tell right away if the buyer is any part, creative, innovative, blah, 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 or not. And, like, it's not a no to you or what it is, it's just not a fit. So, like, understanding also, I think, not only what timing is, but also where is your momentum coming from? Who are your early supporters? How do you learn to lean in and nurture that versus, hey, like I'm going to kill it in New York, Miami, and LA because that's every single person's business plan. I'm like, that's that, you know, I those aren't our first markets. And like I actually think I have more freedom to tell our authentic voice, which will pay dividends in the long run and be able to scale long run by not having to force myself into, you know, what needs to be done when it's also too, like I think you've had this journey. Everything that's happened over the past couple years is so unpredictable, like between supply chain things, between on premise and COVID, now economy and this and that, and you're constantly evolving how to interact with that like broader thing and how that impacts everyone and everything and timing and that too. So I think it's like trying to get out of the tunnel vision on everything to be able to be like, hey, there's friction here, I'm going to go here. Um or and then now I can come back here and I have what I need kind of thing. So like it's being a little bit nimble with it versus, hey, this is gonna look shiny. Like I checked the box, I'm done. Because second you stop pouring money somewhere, that box might come unchecked real quick too,
Yeah.
if it's not authentic.
No, this has been amazing. I'm gonna switch gears briefly. And it's a game I like to play when I talk to the different entrepreneurs. It's called Here's One of My Favorites. And this is just it's not necessarily about the brand or any of that. It's just a little bit a deeper dive, excuse me, into some of the things that you like. Here's one of my favorites. So we're gonna start with this. Here is one of my favorite female leaders.
I like women that kind of aren't afraid to challenge the status quo and push it and call stuff and be assertive and show up. And like I find that aspirational because like that's what I would like to do. Even I know you have your partnership, but like hearing Fawn's journey on how I built this, like the fact, like the stuff she dealt with or things
Yeah.
sometimes I deal with too, and like having to figure out how to get through and just her audacity to show up and try and deliver the vision and be a business leader that's like, you know, incredibly like inspirational. But there's a ton of people every single day that do amazing things too. So yeah, I don't know, that's a good question. I need a better answer, I'll come back, but Fawn's amazing.
This is one of my favorite songs.
I I like anything with a good beat. Like
Okay.
I can't have quiet like
Yeah.
with it. It has to have a little bit of rhythm and movement to it.
Okay.
So I think like those pump up kind of rock type songs,
Yeah.
like anything with a good beat that creates movement, like I'm here for. Also like some throwbacks too. I think they're good.
Here's one of my favorite places to travel.
Ooh, I like the desert. I think it's really beautiful. Not every if you know, it's different type of beauty, but like it's really unique. And you know, anything in the Southwest, it's awesome. It's like I love it there.
Here is one of my favorite things about Wayward.
It's a challenger brand, you know, a little bit. It like gets you thinking, it's cerebral and it delivers for what we're doing and you know that I think that creates that kind of endless opportunities to continue to evolve. As a challenger brand, you're constantly being able to evolve, but we kind of put some, you know, I think post where, hey, there's where we can add value, but like we leave the story open to, you know, evolving to new things and having new conversations and having new partnerships. So I'm I'm excited and proud of not only what we did and the value that we deliver with our two things that we can really focus on, but also, you know, being able to continue that story and that narrative and not, you know, grow and evolve.
Here is one of my favorite ways to drink Wayward.
I really like spirit forward drinks. And that, so, your Negronis, your martinis, those type of things. We have a whole, I love it with pairings. Like spirits aren't really talking a culinary story like wine and stuff does. So like we have a lot that are kind of like cocktail and cheese pairings or fully upcycled pairings and stuff like that. I think has been fun to do some recipe development with a different kind of frame of mind and mindset with it. So, having a classic go-to, but like really being like, there's no rules, So this looked cool. I want to try this. Oh, that's a cool flavor that just came out. I'm gonna play with some ubi. I'm gonna try some uzu. I know it'll work, and dialing that in and constantly having a new favorite because of it.
Last two. Here is one of my favorite qualities in a person.
Oh boy. I believe good people know good people. So like that's energy, that's willingness to share, that's authenticity and transparency, and also just having some empathy and connection on like what it takes to try, what it takes to show up every day kind of thing. And I think just that ability to be a human without a lot of guards or pomp and circumstances and stuff, like that's my favorite thing, because then you get a personal connection. And you know if I ever, I want to give as much as I get, and that journey and those people are magic, and I think help get a ton of things done. So that kind of, anyone who's not leading with what's in it for me attitude is just showing up and ready to give, but also to understand what drives them and gives them purpose. Like that's just a lovely authenticity, I think, in people.
The last one, and my wife tells me this all the time, and you said it earlier, was sometimes you got to be kind to, like she always tells me I need to be kind to myself. And as entrepreneurs, we tend to always, we're so much in fix it mode and trying to move the needle that sometimes we're not as kind to ourselves as we need to be. And sometimes we need to stop and look at ourselves and kind of be happy for ourselves of where we're at, right? So what is one of your favorite things about Emily?
Oh, um, um, I I think I got a voice through this journey. Like I figured stuff out. Like I I have, like I said, when I kind of want to switch my jobs, like I want it to be that full functioning human, by both technical but also that connection thing, and being able to show I can be a leader and have ideas and be creative and all of that. And I think that's my favorite thing, coming into a lot of stuff I never did along the journey, like public speaking or this or that, is just like, gaining a voice through that and getting some confidence. And, I think the ability to learn how a lot of things in the world works with it. And I think like I'm kind of proud to be that, um, you know, jack of all trades type thing, and being able to be nimble and pivot versus like, hey, I need to be an expert. I need to have 15,000 years of liquor making lineage to be able to do it. It's like, no, like I can be me. And, I can be me, and that's okay too. So
Beautiful, beautiful. Emily, what's next? What's next for you? What's next for the brand?
yeah, so we will be at Natural Products Expo West next week. Really proud to announce a partnership with the American Egg Board. So kind of, classic
Congrats.
cocktails always had that egg element. They think it's a huge opportunity for them, and they chose us as their spirit of focus for all their development. So unveiling some really cool cutting edge cocktails there, and then opening up a lot of nurturing on premise, and connecting people. And I love that farm to flask, that food science element, all that functionality with it. So that's a cool new partnership evolution. We'll be at Liquid City and in San Diego. We'll be at the National Restaurant Association show, and just grew our team. So all of our key markets are going to have a lot more nurturing. So really excited to build those partnerships too.
Oh, cool. Oh, one last thing. For those who are watching this, talk about what's over your shoulder. Is that the mascot?
Yeah. So her name's Magnificent. She's a Highland cow. She's our mascot. We like to say she has that long hair, don't care, wayward mentality. If you're gonna get a cow with drink with a cow, it's gonna be her. And I think it's also fun too. It's a little Easter egg. Like she's a she. Girl cows can have horns too, and she's just like bold but free. So like I fell in love with her on the journey, figured out to have her and not give her distortion, but give her strength. And like she's a big part of our brand. And Highland cows are like the best.
She
Like
has a presence.
yeah, they do. They do. They're gentle giants.
Yeah.
They show up, but they're very cute.
So where can everyone find Wheyward? Well, so both in retail, but also online and all that good stuff.
Yeah, so the easiest spot is you can get Wheyward Spirit and Wheyward Whiskey from our website. So just go to Wheyward, WHEYWARD spirit.com. And we ship to your door really quick, really proud of our kind of platform there. And then some of our markets right now, which we're hoping to grow, are California. Our good partners there are going to be Total and Whole Foods. We're in Nebraska and then a couple control states, but excited about more expansion. Safest place to always go is the website though.
Emily, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit about you, a little bit about Wheyward. It's been a fabulous conversation, and we really appreciate you being transparent and open. And, I said this and I meant this, I really appreciate it when I met you. I'm an energy person, and the energy was very authentic and very real. So if there's anything that I can do above and beyond even these conversations, I am here. And for those who are listening, I say this all the time and I'll say it again. It's great to support with your likes, but small businesses don't become big businesses if we don't support also with our dollars. So go out there, try these products. They are amazing products, and tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend as well.
I appreciate it and I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Emily.
Cool.
Cheers.